Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for Sunday Coffee. I'm this guy, Harris, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for New Hampshire. But I thought I'd kind of dress down, do a little casual today. I want to talk to you about a couple of ideas. But actually, I just want to have some time with you on a Sunday and just visit for a bit. So, we're all human beings and we all live in our life and try to get things done. But if you went outside to get in your car to go somewhere and you had 4 flat tires, what would you do? Well, let's bring up some crazy things. So, would you set the car on fire, hoping that the heat somehow makes it run better? That's what we do when we take a kid who stole a bike and put them in a cage with violent offenders for a year and expect them to come out as a better citizen. We're burning down the vehicle and calling it good. Would you take a bunch of money, instead of burning it down, would you take a bunch of money and throw it in the back seat and drive on it on the wheels anyway, the 4 flat tires? Well, you'd destroy the tires, you'd destroy the rims, and most likely the undercarriage of your car. But hey, you could say you got there. Make a nice photo of it. Or would you do what any sane person would do, call someone to help, air up the tires, and drive the car the way it was supposed to be driven? Right now, America has 4 flat tires. We have a youth incarceration system that costs billions and manufactures criminals. We have millions of acres of federal land degraded and waiting for restoration. A conservation program paying people who aren't conserving. They're profiting off of taxpayers and returning nothing. We have warehouses full of military equipment being auctioned for pennies instead of real value. Each is the flat. Each one has a fix. And here's the thing. We already own the air pump, we already own the jack, and we already paid for the labor. We just haven't connected it all yet. Okay, look. There has been, I don't know if it was a Greek philosopher, but somebody back in the past that said societies aren't judged by how they govern. They judge how they treat their poor and their children. We ain't doing such a good job. The problem, 4 systems failing simultaneously. Youth incarceration is costing us $2.7 billion to create more criminals. The United States incarcerates more young people than any other country in the world. As of 2023, roughly 30,000 youth are held in juvenile facilities on any given day, with another 2,400 under U.S. adult prisons, or 32,000 kids. I mean, it's kind of frustrating. I'm going to have all of this on my Patreon site, and there will be a link somewhere in here that you can follow up with it. But I'm not going to read you this whole thing. But I wanted to give you the highlights and then see what your comments were on it. The cost, 40 states pay a minimum of $100,000 annually to incarcerate a child each. Some states pay as high as $500,000 per year. The national average is $200,000 a year. $200,000? Okay, go to the nicest hotel in your town. See what it costs to stay there for one night. Divide that by 200,000. Look at what it costs to bring in the best tutor in your area. You're paying that amount for a piece of crap system. Okay. Federal land degradation. Look, I don't care what they say about farming or ranching or who did what. Look, when they had 9 companies competing for the rights to have a railroad across the country, all of those trees got cut down, and because it was a government program, nobody wants to take the credit for it. But we almost had a new war with Canada, because people were in the north were stealing out of their forests. Okay, so what wiped out all of our forests? Isn't it a miracle that exactly at the border, the Great Northern Forest disappeared? So I'm not trying to pick on anybody or blame anybody. I'm saying that's a problem and we need to fix it. We need to reforest the land. We need to provide cooling for our country. We need to have air exchange because trees don't pollute. They get rid of pollution. So the federal government owns 640 million acres. 28% of that land of United States land. The Bureau of Land Management administers 245 million acres of that. So we already have the land, right? We have a program called conservation, and there's a lot of other environmental programs that have had funding. Guess what? Your tax dollars are still flowing to them. They've just found a different way to use the money. The execution has gaps. It was designed for working farmers who need income while letting their portions of their land recover. The program has attracted non-farmers, friends of people in Congress. Money flows out. Compliance verification is, we'll call it inconsistent, instead of the words I'd like to use. Okay, the other thing is we have military surplus. They buy stuff every year. Okay, we have tents that are perfectly fine sitting in warehouses and every other kind of non-military support equipment. You take a couple of those, you put those out on this land, you get kids who want to be there, not forcing anybody, who want to be there instead of sitting in a prison. Well, excuse me, that's called a detention center. And with a former military or a forester or somebody else, and you do the thing right. Okay, all of this exists. I'm not inventing a new program. So instead of this military equipment being used for something positive, like I'm talking about, we sell it off for pennies on the dollars. And the people who get it, I'm sure, are very happy. But that's not what it was bought for, and it could be used for something else that's benefiting our society. Okay. The solution: connect what already exists. No new programs, no new appropriations, no new taxes, and I don't need their frickin' permission if I'm a senator. The Youth Conservation Corps could be rebuilt. Take nonviolent juvenile offenders, the 90% who pose no public safety threat at all, and offer them a choice to serve your time working for society or just sitting in a cage. Those who choose work join supervised crews on federal land. They plant trees, clear invasive species, restore waste watersheds, build trails. The same works the Civilian Conservation Corps did in the 1930s. The funding mechanism. The money doesn't come from new sources. It comes from redirection. Okay. Incarceration budgets. I already talked about that for a second. But hey, come on. If you had $100,000 to provide you with food, shelter, and clothing, would it look better than the average detention center? Non-compliant payments that are supposed to go for resting the land that go into politicians and their supporters' pockets. This is all it's documented, folks. I'm not making this up. I'll have the receipts and the information on my Substack site, and I'll include a link. The equipment. Stop auctioning military surplus. Redirect it. Or at least some of it. The structure. Participate is voluntary. Kids who want to work get the opportunity and get trained and get supported and learn their GED and all those kind of things. Okay. Here are some potential outcomes of this idea. For the kids, lower the returning to the system. Education, marketable skills, work history, physical health. For the land, workforce to address 4 million acre reforestation problem. Labor for the 54 million acres degraded BLM land. Capacity to scale nursery seedling production. Restoration of watersheds, wildlife habitat, and carbon sequencing forests. For taxpayers. Okay? So if you took one of those $100,000, one of those, and took 50 kids out camping, they could have steak and eggs every day. I'm not saying they're going to have steak and eggs every day. But one cost of keeping one of those kids in a prison, the rest of that is savings that could go to other programs that are necessary in our society. Reduce future incarceration costs, reduce social services costs, actual return on investment. Instead of just throwing the money in a hole, the backseat of the car that you catch on fire. Public safety. Programs that reduce reforesting instead of increase it. Young people with other options instead of nothing to lose. And communities get back contributing members instead of repeat offenders. And by the way, folks, this land is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So even though the kids are in jail right now, and most of them are for things like having pot or stealing food, okay? Not a big threat to society. It's going to be out in the middle of the country somewhere, so there's no risk to public safety. There's going to be opposition to this. How do I know that? Well, you ever try to do good in the world? Yeah. Those same folks are going to give me a hard time. I'm not worried about it. Here's the thing, is this has worked before. Civilian Conservation Corps operated from 1933 to 1942, enrolled 3 million young men, and planted approximately 3 billion trees. They built trails, lodges, infrastructure across national state parks that we all use today. They fought fires, controlled floods, restored land designed for decades after exploitation. The program cost less than the comparable relief programs while producing lasting public assets. Participants gain skills, wages, work experience during the worst economic period in American history. We're not reinventing something new. We're using what's already there that you've already paid for. Okay. So here's the thing, is if you want somebody who thinks this way, so all of this program that I've talked about, the newest version of it, the newest piece of it is 40 years old. That's the newest piece of it. So there's been Democrats and Republicans in office that whole 40 years, right? Guess what? At least for 14 of those years, one party or the other had the trifecta. They had the White House, they had the Senate, and they had Congress. If they really cared about this stuff, like when they show up for a photo op, they could have addressed it already. There would have been no reason for me to be talking to you about it. If you want a really shocker, go back and look at the episode on West Wing that's, 35 years old? Where they're talking about the same thing and nobody did squat? So here's the question. Let's say that you think that Congress is just dandy. Are you saying they're too stupid to think this up? Or that they know and they were so heartless that they let it go? Folks, look, here's some of the citations, and I'll put those out there for you. Okay, if you go to this thing, or a QR code, right? And I will put the QR code in the stuff somewhere, so you can just link to it. But aren't you tired of the same old, same old? Aren't you? So here's the thing. There are 100 senators. Not 1,000, not 500. There are 100 senators. What is there, 350 million people in the United States? That means that each senator is responsible to 350,000 people. That's not even possible. I mean, that's not impossible. So the idea of a senator is that he's elected from New Hampshire, but he represents everybody in the country. Because 350,000 people. So on my site, there will be ways that you can contact me. But the other thing that you're going to be able to do is watch me. Just like you're doing now. I'm live. I'm going to be live when I'm in DC. You're going to be able to watch me at least daily, if not all day, and see what the hell I'm working on. You don't even have to trust me, but I do need your support. So if you go to my site, which is harris4senate.com, you can find out about me, who I am, what I am. I just gave you the recipe for fixing 4 major problems. If you want the person who has the capacity of not only doing this, then you need to go take a closer look at me. harris4senate.com, or go to my Substack, to which there'll be a link here. And I will put this on there so you can read the entire thing and the citations to know I'm not talking out my butt. Okay? Oh. Most of this came from government reports. This isn't my opinion. It's in the citation.